Okay, welcome to the live stream. Live to you from St. Augustine. Not so sunny right now, but it was pretty sunny earlier today. Sunny St. Augustine, Florida, and the temperatures are getting cooler, so it's getting to that beautiful time of the year, especially for those of you that know anything about Florida and how warm it can get. We're losing some humidity, and it's getting beautiful. So there's a lot of rustling in the background. Yeah, so we've got a couple different subjects I'm going to cover. One of the things we're going to get into a little bit is I've got my most recent P&L, so we'll spring that on you. Balance sheet, so we'll give you some numbers behind the numbers and let you know, I guess, how things are going down here. Looks like people are starting to roll in here, so this ought to be great. I love it. And you'll see we have Senior Pupus behind us. Senior Pupus is our special guest, so everybody please welcome Senior Pupus to the live stream. Hopefully he'll behave and not make me sneeze because I'm deathly allergic to cats, but somebody thought I needed this, so much so that after they found out we named him Senior Pupus, you will see that he has a collar. So there you have the Senior Pupus. It even has my phone number on there, so I probably better not show that too close. I'm gonna get all kinds of stalkers and stuff. But yeah, Senior Pupus is joining us, and I'm ready to go. So hopefully you guys have tons and tons of questions, because we'll talk about the things I want to talk about, but I want to mix in your guys' questions. So if you have questions about how it's going in Florida specifically, how we're dealing with certain problems, or I don't care what your questions are, I'll answer any kind of questions you guys any questions you guys have. I'm an open book, and hopefully in doing so, anything that I can do to answer your questions and make you better is great, even if it means sharing some of the most embarrassing things that have ever happened to me in fencing. So, and there's been plenty of those that we've already shared. So I have a hard time sitting still. So if you notice that I scoot around a lot, it's just, I don't know, this is the way I am. And I'll show you something else too. I'm probably the only person that you're ever going to meet that sits in a chair like this. So I'm crisscross applesauce all the time. I lay in bed crisscross applesauce. I sit in chairs crisscross applesauce. I even drive crisscross applesauce. Don't tell anybody. Usually with one foot down and one foot up when I'm driving, just so I can reach the brakes. But yeah, so that's just a little tidbit about me that probably makes me a little bit strange. I knew a guy from Utah, and the strangest thing he ever did when he drove was he carried a pillow on his lap all the time. Everywhere he went, he had the like big fluffy pillow and he put it on his lap. And I used to tease him relentlessly. And now he still sends me pictures. It's Jeff Chase. If anybody knows Jeff Chase, worked with Rocky Mountain Vinyl, also Best Vinyl out in Lehi, Utah. Hasn't done that for a few years. I think he's been gone out of the fence business for about 4 years, but always drove around with a pillow on his lap. Great guy. So if you know Jeff, you know that's what he does. That's just a little thing that Jeff Chase does. So cool dude. If you ever get to Utah, go look him up. Let's see. Okay, so we got a couple of people. This is Justin with Making All Things New. Glad to have you here, Justin. We have Jess Hopkins visiting us from YouTube. We got Roger Badcourt. And I had no idea, Roger, that you weren't a fence guy. You're so into all the fence stuff. I just thought you were a fence guy. So you must just love construction, or I'm not sure what it is that brings you, but that's cool. And we have Vincent Martinez with us. So glad you're excited, Vincent. I'm excited too. I'm just an excitable type. So the first question I have is, I don't know who this Facebook user is. I can't see any of these, unfortunately, because the way you guys come through, it doesn't show me your profile. So you have to allow StreamYard to be able to show your profile. So if you can somehow figure that out and show your profile, I'll be able to see who I'm talking to, which is always great to know who I'm talking to. But this user asks, are we feeling any of the slowdown in the market in our area, and how are we combating that? Right now, we're not feeling the slowdown, and I'm such a small operation. I don't know that I would feel that. It'd probably be pretty tough for me because we're still fighting for everything that we do, where most people have got kind of a baseline. We don't have a baseline, so we don't know how busy we should or should not be at this time of year. So we may be slower than we should be, but we wouldn't know it because we don't have anything to compare it to. So we're staying busy, and actually we're trying to grow the operation through this, and we're going to continue fighting like hell to get our little piece of the market here. We want to own St. Augustine is kind of what we want to do. Is we just want this to be our own little piece of heaven. So we're doing everything we can to make a splash here, and probably in the meantime, in doing so, probably making some enemies, but that's just the nature of competition. We're not trying to make enemies, but there's people that are not going to like that we're here. So we get that. We understand. If somebody plunked down right in the middle of Wyoming and decided that they were going to be the new SWI of Wyoming, I would probably be irritated, but I'd also be extremely aggressive. So so to answer your question, I don't know if there's a slowdown here. I know that our Wyoming operation is not feeling any slowdown, and it's, all hands on deck. We need to hire people. We've hired a couple people, and we're looking to hire a couple people down here actually as well. So we've got nine people, not counting my son and my wife, basically working every day. So starting to scale up a little bit, and we've got some stuff on the horizon that'll hopefully be good for us. So Josh Glover says he loves the cat. Josh Glover would, because he's a little bit crazy, and cat people are definitely crazy. Roger Backcourt says, you, Joe, Sean King have seriously motivated me to start my own fence company. How do I get past the scaredy cat level and do it? So here's a little secret you probably don't know, is I think that to be an entrepreneur, I think you have to be somewhat of a gambler. I think the most out there, I'm a huge gambler, like not only in business, but I will go to Vegas and I will bet money. There's people that won't. They cringe if they lost $5, and I'm just not one of those people. I will put all the money out there if there's a chance that it could come back to me tenfold. I'm just 100% a gambler. I play poker. I do all those terrible things. So if that makes you think less of me, then I guess that's what it is. But I'm a gambler, and I gamble all the time. And every single job that I go on and every single job that we do, whether you realize it or not, is nothing but a gamble. What we're doing is we're trying to take all the information that we're given, whether, so the customer's personality, the customer's yard, their conditions, the price of the materials, we're taking all that and we're making an educated guess as to how this is going to turn out. So we think it lands in our favor, and we think, maybe we've got a 10% advantage. Let's call it 10% our profit margin. That's a 10% advantage over the house, which is the customer. And they know because they're getting something out of it too. Maybe that's not a great way to put it, but we think that there's a 10% advantage to us to be able to do that. And obviously they get a nice fence out of the deal. But not every job turns out that way. Sometimes we don't take into account the fact that Karen's crazy and she wipes out our 10% advantage. And in fact, we go negative 10%. And there's commercial jobs that can really wipe you out. And I've been on those projects. So every single project, we try and calculate for all the risks and determine whether or not the risk reward benefits there and put a price on it. So if I think something's super risky, we're going to bump our price up. And we hope that covers us. But at the end of the day, it's called job costing. And we hope at the end of the day, we made money through job costing. And every single job's a gamble. And I've been on jobs that could have sunk us. And we continue to bid jobs that are sometimes uncomfortable, uncomfortably large. And that's just, I'm a dreamer, and I believe we can do stuff, and I'm a gambler, and I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit, I guess. So if you're not somebody that likes that risk level, then it's going to be pretty hard for you to ever be in business, because every single truck we put on the road is a risk, and every single team member we put on the road is a risk, because you never know what kind of crazy things they're going to do. And we've seen the stories. We've seen the stories of what different employees have done to companies. And, one person stole a truck and went and murdered somebody. I mean, there's just crazy stories out there. So it's all risk. It's all risk. And we're just trying to calculate that risk and come out on top. So you've got to, yeah, you have to be willing to take that risk, and you have to feel like you have enough of an advantage to make it worth it to you and your family. So, but I think it's worth it. I'd like to know if anybody ever, like, I didn't come to the fence industry. I didn't graduate high school and think, oh yeah, you know what, I'm going to start a fence company. I'm going to be a fence builder. That's not like, nobody sets out and, when somebody asks them what they want to do, well, I'm going to be a fence builder when I grow up. Maybe like a fence builder's child does that, but nobody that's not in the industry or really heavily in the industry already says that. And I was not, did not envision this for my life. And I didn't even envision this for my life back in 2012 when I thought I was going to lose it all and never come back to fencing. So, but it's in my blood now, and I know nothing else to do. Let's see. So a lot of comments coming in. So somebody says, let's go. So yeah, let's do go. A lot of people saying, hey, I can't see all the Facebook users. So unfortunately, it's hard for me to know who we're talking to. Nolan Latham Jardell says, if you're not using spooky operators, you're not doing it right. Hey, you know what? Boy, I feel like Ricky Bobby'd have something to say about that. If you're using spooky control operators, then you just fill in the rest of that. We don't use spooky controls. So, and that's coming from, there's a post on one of the groups, and I don't mean if you're watching this and you've seen some of the things, I'm very tough on spooky controls. I'm very tough on these low budget operators because they're so terrible. They cost people a lot of money to get installed, and they just don't last. And people say, well, no, they last. And my gate opens, it opens once a day, and then every couple days you have to go out there. Every couple of weeks you got to go out there and adjust it. And what I found today, I'll share with, or not today, is that a lot of the operators, and what I look for in a good operator is I don't want a lot of slop. So when that gate closes, I want it to be pretty dang rigid. And what I found in a lot of the low grade operators, some of the big name brands that you can think of too, is that there's just all kinds of slop, and you'll get a 12-foot gate out there and it'll close it all right. But then when the wind blows, it'll slop back and forth, and it just puts undue stress and wear and tear, and the bracketry is kind of terrible. And there's no real good geometry, and they're using bolts to try and hold the operator to this chintzy bracketry. And I mean, you guys know, if you've installed this stuff, you know what I'm talking about. But then the other thing is on the inside of that screw, there's a plastic nut, and that plastic nut is all that's riding on that screw. So as that thing slaps back and forth, it strips out that nut and just starts wearing things out. And it's harder on the operator, and harder on the bolts, and harder on the hinges, and harder on everything, and just basically self-destructs over time. And I don't like things that do that. I tell people, I went out the other day, and I'm at this great big, it's not a mansion, but it's as close as you can get to being a mansion without being a mansion, out on the lake, not the lake, the St. Johns River. And this is a guy that's moved here from California trying to tell me how he's on a budget. And I'm like, but I need to get on your budget is what I need to do. I need the budget. I need to be on your budget, because basically he wants something cheap, and he's asking me if I'll install something that he gets off of Amazon. And I'm like, whoa, dude, whoa. You do not know me. You don't want to talk to me like that. We're going to have this conversation. This isn't happening right now. I don't think this is not the way I operate. But he wants something good. He wants something reliable, and hates the one that's there. And so, and I told him, I said, we have two criteria when we install a gate operator. The first criteria I have is it's got to be safe. That means safe for people and safe for vehicles. And so many of these gate operators out there, spooky controls especially, have no idea that a vehicle's there. So if it starts to shut, there's no devices there that are going to detect vehicles, let alone people. And that drives me nuts. How in the world are you going to put up an operator super cheap at one of these places like that, and this guy comes rolling down the driveway in a $125,000 Mercedes or something, and then the freaking gate operator wipes it out, and then I'm going to be on the hook? Why would I do that? Why would anybody do that? Why would you do that to yourself and take on that risk? It comes back to the gambler. Now I'm a gambler, and I'm willing to bet some money but I'm not stupid. And I feel like that's what happens when you put in low budget operators is you're gambling and you're on the losing side of this, and it's only a matter of time before you're going to have to pay the debt. So we don't mess with that stuff. We only try and install good things, good high quality operators. And everybody asks me what I use, and we use US Automatic because US Automatic's reliable. They've got instead of a plastic nut on the inside of there, they've got a bearing, and it's actually got little ball bearings that rotate on that screw, so there's zero friction, which is why we've got a gate in Wyoming that somebody bastardized and made a vertical pivot out of a Patriot arm. So no other arm's going to do that. These things are crazy tough. So that's why I use them. Does every operator have some problem of some sort? I'm sure, but for reliability, I think they're up there. That's what I use. I recommend All-O-Matic. I think it's got some pretty good arms. And then Maximum Controls, I think, is another one that I don't think it's too bad. We've got a maximum control arm on our gate in the Cody yard. Fence stain. Somebody asked what fence stains we recommend getting. Do you stain fences at all? I recommend fences getting stained. We don't stain fences. We sell Wood Defender. Yeah, I guess we sell Wood Defender. And we don't stain any fences. Part of our agreement with them is that we can't apply if we're going to be a distributor. So we don't apply, and it's just one of those risky things that I don't think I want to get into. I'm happy to sell it to people that want to stain it, and I recommend people do stain their fences, but we don't do that for them. We point those to professionals that work in that space. Landmark says, hey, Mark, Kevin from Landmark here. We're in the Pacific Northwest Tacoma area. Really enjoy the content we put out. What is our worst Karen story? We all got them. I really try and stay removed from a lot of the customer base, and that's because I know that I can't handle that stuff, and there's a lot of people that are much better. I'd rather deal with the things one-on-one after they've kind of gotten out of hand, and then I can come in and be the good cop, because otherwise I would be 100% the bad cop. Like, I'm going to come in and bury your whole family. That's just my attitude. So my brother, Carl, who, when we had Olson Fencing, he was doing a fence, and it's one of those age-old things where, are we going to follow grade, or are we going to make the fence straight on top? I won't say level, because fences are so rarely ever level. But are we going to make it straight on top, or are we going to follow the grade? And she says, no, I want it to be straight on top, so make my fence straight on top. And so that's what we did. And she was just kind of nitpicking everything. And to my recollection, so Carl and her got into it, my older brother, and she had this dog, and she was super worried about her dog getting under the fence. And Carl takes one look at this dog, and in the middle of this whole heated debate over her, he looks at the dog and he says, "Your fat little dog's not getting into this fence anyhow." And that's really all I remember about. But yeah, it was a big, long, drawn out battle, and there's been so many more, and I just try and forget them and move on. They're not worth my time. So that's the worst one. That's the one that always comes to my mind when somebody asks me for a Karen story. But I know there's been way worse than that. And there's been times when we were just flat in the wrong too. And when we recognize that, we make it good. Sean King says full send, and Sean King's a good one. He's full send. Joe Everest, I think he's pretty much full send too. We're full send. That's the way we run our business. I run on the ragged edge. I like to run scared because that's when I do my best work. I don't necessarily always have a plan. My plan is I'll figure it out when we need to. I'll figure it out when we get there. That's my plan. My wife does not like that plan. She's not a big fan of my plans, but she lets me do it. The claws that are fenced sunk into me 10 years ago, and yeah, they need to never get away. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. See if we can get to another couple questions here. Questions, comments. Okay, here, I'm going to try and answer this one. How do you choose whether to write off a big purchase or depreciate it? So We struggled with that, but we came up with a plan and we stick to the plan, and that's our plan. Now, I've talked with Josh Glover, and Josh Glover, he capitalizes anything over $500 that's kind of an asset. So let's say you buy a concrete saw, and the concrete saw is $1,200. Josh Glover is going to add that to his asset list, and he's going to maybe depreciate that out. And in our company, we don't depreciate anything out that's under $2,500. So if it's over $2,500 and it's a major asset that has durable value, it's going to be good for more than one job or a few years, then we'll depreciate it. So we have a spreadsheet that we use. We put it all on that spreadsheet. We track all that stuff with serial numbers, the whole 9 yards. So $2,500 is our general rule. And then once we put it on the depreciation schedule, the accountant can decide whether or not to take an accelerated depreciation. So he may take accelerated depreciation on the stuff we buy this year, and he may not. It depends on how it benefits us tax wise. And so we have that discussion after we see what our tax liability is. So great question for whoever asked that. I don't want to get too far into this stuff because we got a lot of stuff to cover, but let's talk about 1099 subcontractors here for just a second. So in Wyoming, we don't have a whole lot of 1099 subcontractors like what we have in here in Florida. And what I mean by that is our company works as a 1099 subcontractor. We are a subcontractor to a lot of general contractors. So they'll have a big fence project that's a part of a large building project, and they'll subcontract us to take care of the fence work. We don't work exclusively for that general contractor. We're not a part of them. We work for every general contractor. And if some other general contractor had won that project, we'd be working for them. So that's the type of 1099 subcontractor our company is to other companies. The type of 1099 subcontractor that we see a lot of here in Florida is where a couple guys will break off of a fence company, or they'll get together because they're friends, and then they'll go subcontract to another fence company. So that fence company will go out and sell a whole bunch of jobs, and then get these couple guys and to go out and install. Now, there are right ways and wrong ways to do that. And there are what they call a litmus test to decide whether or not somebody is a 1099 subcontractor or is not a 1099 subcontractor and should be a W-2 employee. So I'm going to just read through this here. I'll bring it up on the screen so you guys can see it. All right, so this is thanks to Ken Throckmorton sent this to me. This is from the National Association of Home Builders. On October 13th, the U.S. Department of Labor will issue a proposed rule change, changing its process for classifying workers as employees rather than independent contractors under the Fair Labor Standards Act. The proposed rule seeks to determine whether or not a worker is economically dependent on the employer or truly in business for himself or herself using a revised economic reality test, which consists of 6 factors, including the following. Number 1, is the work performed an integral part of the employer's business? Number 2, does the worker's managerial skill affect the worker's opportunity for profit or loss? Number 3 is the relationship between the worker and employer permanent or indefinite? What is the nature and degree of the employer's control? Is number 4, sorry. Number 5 is, does the worker use specialized skills to perform the work, and do those skills contribute to the business-like initiative? And number 6 are investments by worker capital or entrepreneurial in nature. So I'm not an expert on this 100%, but I'm going to tell you what I think they're getting at. So is the work performed an integral part of the employer's business? So I don't know. To me, that speaks as to, is the fence company subbing out fences, and so is it an integral part of their business like that? Number 2 is a little bit clearer to me. Does the worker's managerial skill affect their worker's opportunity for profit or loss? Meaning the way you manage a project and the way you handle a project on the job and through the whole process affect how much money you can or cannot make. So if the way you manage the project does not affect how much you make on the project, then that may be where you cross a line. Is the relationship between the worker and employer permanent or indefinite? So this is one of those things where I think this is like a big red flag. So if two guys in a truck, they only work for ABC Fence Company and that's all they ever do, and they show up every morning and they get their marching orders from ABC Fence Company and that's all they ever work for is this one company, that can be a huge red flag, because the IRS and the Department of Labor are going to look at that and say, hey, they're dependent upon this company 100% solely. If this company goes away, these guys no longer have a business. So that is one place where I think that they're going to really look at and say, hey, maybe we have somebody that should be an employee here. Now, not necessarily, but this is one of the things they're going to look at. What is the nature and degree of the employer's control? Now, a big red flag here is, let's say that you work for this ABC Fence Company and you're always doing work for them. That's all you ever work for. And now ABC Fence Company says, and by the way, you have to be here at 8 o'clock and you have to work mandatory overtime and you have to do all these things, and they set the schedule and they do all this stuff. And they say, oh, and when you go out to these jobs, you can't mention your company name, but you need to fly our company colors. So it's not Joe and Bob's Fence Company or Pete and Jake's Fence Company on the door of your truck. It needs to say ABC Fence Company. That is huge red flag. That is crossing a line to where you're basically taking control of those people, and they are not at all like a subcontract. I think that scenario I just gave you would very much cross over into the line of things that are not legitimate. You can't tell me. And when we go work for contractors, they don't tell me, hey, you know what, we're Hensel Phelps and you need to pretend you're not SWI. You need to fly Hensel Phelps on, re-logo your doors, and they have to say Hensel Phelps, and you got to put a magnet on there anytime you're on our job that says Hensel Phelps. I would never do it. That would be a huge red flag, and exhibits a huge amount of control of the contractor, the fence company, over the subcontractor. The next one is does the worker use specialized skills to perform the work, and do those skills contribute to a business-like initiative? So that comes down to, do they have all the skills that they need? Do they have to have all the financial skills? Do they have to have all the selling skills? And I would like to find something maybe in a future when I'll do a little bit of more digging on this stuff and see if we can get some of this broke down a little bit more. But the big thing is are they subject to profit and loss? And is it business like them? If somebody else is handling all their paperwork for them and doing all the procurement, and all they have to do is show up and provide labor, that really starts smelling like an employee. When it's only labor, that's all they ever provide is only labor. And there's situations where I can tell you that are going on all over Florida and probably other parts of the country, when not only this, but they're telling us they're 1099 subcontractors, but yet they provide them with trucks. They provide them with all the tools. They tell them when to show up. They tell them when to leave. And all they're doing is paying them by the foot. And the reason that they're doing that is so that they can get away from all the payroll taxes and everything else like that. The payroll taxes, the work comp, the unemployment, all the things that cost us people that run legitimate businesses a ton of money. Now, I don't have a problem with people that hire contractors, but those people need to operate their business like a business as well. So if I run a fence company and I want to subcontract to somebody else, the first thing that I'm going to require of them is they're going to have work comp, and they're going to have liability insurance, and they're going to have to provide their own tools. And I'm not going to provide them with a schedule of when they have to be here, but they're going to have a schedule of when the project has to be completed. When they show up, if they can work it out with Mrs. Johnson that they work at 3 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the morning, and that's their schedule, then that would be up to them. But when an employer sets the schedule that somebody has to work and the days that they have to work, rather than maybe more controlling the project completion timeline, then that starts looking a lot more like a W-2 employee than a 1099 subcontractor. And there's a whole bunch of people skirting the laws. That's how a lot of these companies get their prices down, is they find people that are going to go fly under the radar for them so that they can look legitimate, and they are legitimate, but then they go out and they find all these people that are illegitimate to do all the work for them. It happens a lot. It's very disappointing. And then the last in our investments by a worker capital and entrepreneurial nature. So if they don't have to put up any cash and they don't ever have to buy any of their own tools or buy any of their own trucks, because all the trucks are provided by ABC Fence Company. Sometimes an ABC Fence Company might do some screwy things like say, hey, we know you don't have any money because you're just dirt broke and you're going to stay dirt broke because we're really not going to pay any money to do this stuff, but we'll lease you a truck and then we'll take that lease payment out of everything that we owe you. That stuff goes on too, all over the place. I have zero respect for that. So the worst case scenario that I can think of is somebody that basically has a fleet of trucks and they have all the tools and they find a couple people that want to go sit in those trucks and they'll say, I'll pay you $2 a foot to go out and install fences for me. And then out of that $2 a foot, I'm going to lease you the trucks. I'm going to lease you the tools. So you might get paid $300 a day, but I'm going to hold back $100 a day for using my equipment. And by the way, you need to be here at 8 and you can't leave before 5. And if you need time off, you have to come clear that with me. And that is 100% stuff that goes on every day. And I mean, my best suggestion is if you know people that are doing this kind of stuff, just turn them in. It's ridiculous, and it's what's killing the market in lots of different places, not just Florida, but everywhere. And what this tells me is that the Department of Labor is looking to crack down on some of this stuff. Because let's say the reality is it costs us all money. It takes money out of our pockets that are trying to operate legitimately, and it takes money out of the employees' pockets, these people that are working for these pennies. It takes money out of their pocket because they could probably be doing better if they would just show up and work for a legitimate company who has benefits and things like that, rather than running around working for beer money. So it hurts the whole industry when this stuff goes on. But this is on the National Association of Home Builders, so look into that. If you're at all worried about whether or not you're skirting the law, what I would say is talk with somebody from maybe, do some research, talk with your accountant and find out your accountant knows whether or not what you're doing is legitimate. Tell them how you're paying people. Then there's people that just flat do all this stuff and then they pay them under the table. So there's that too. Oh, excuse me. This is brought to you by Busey's. Eat Bucky's, I know. Got my big Bucky's Arizona mango drink. I love Bucky's, man. Bucky's is the bomb. So that's what I have to say about 1099 subcontractors. I cannot tell you how much I loathe people that do things incorrectly. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And if you're doing it the wrong way, you have none of my respect. None of my respect. And I hope you get turned in because you're the bane of our existence. Us people that are trying to operate above board, you're just the bane of our existence. And all you're doing is ruining a good market. So I'm going to stop screen share. Let's get back to this and we'll answer a few more questions, and then for the last little bit maybe here, we'll get into some financial stuff. Some Facebook user, again, I can't see who this is, said, how are we getting leads in our area? We've recently tried local services ads by Google and didn't see a ton of success, but I want to grow and we need more leads. Not sure where to spend the money wisely. I think that's really geographically specific. So I didn't even know that you could advertise on Yelp. I didn't know that you could do Yelp stuff for fences. I thought that was all restaurant stuff. And in California, I know a contractor that's getting a ton of leads off of Yelp. In Wyoming, Facebook it's horrible. The only people that shop for Facebook are somebody that wants basically a 1099 subcontractor to come out there and do it for $20 and a 6-pack of beer. So if anybody's looking for a fence contractor on Facebook in Wyoming, we know that they're the cheapest, lowest common denominator out there. And we just have not had good luck trying to get any leads off of Facebook. Google is king in Wyoming. I would say Google's king here. We do get quite a few calls off of our Google local services. I think they cost a little bit more. And one of the reasons you're not getting maybe you're not getting a lot of luck off of Google local services is because somebody else is offering more money and has a better response rate or something. The more you answer those calls as they come in, so when the phone rings, you've got to answer the call. If you don't answer the call, then I think Google penalizes you because they realize that that isn't a picked up call. So it's just hit and miss. But Google's good everywhere if you can afford it, and it just depends on how saturated your market is. We still struggle to get, because there's so much competition here. Local services is our best. Facebook works really well for us here, but like I say, in Wyoming, it doesn't work at all. Maybe it's because we're already so cheap here, and it just, yeah, maybe that's it. I don't really know. Roger wants to know if I heard from the Trailer Guy's lawyer yet. Yeah, surprisingly enough, Trailer Guy's lawyer has not reached out to me. You know my number though. If you need to get a hold of me, you know where I live, you know my number, you know the shop, just come serve me. I did have a sheriff pull up in my driveway the other day to serve a subpoena on somebody, but it was the old owner of the house, and I was like, oh dang it, we were so close. We were so close, because I just love that excitement in my life. Some people are like, man, I've been sued before, so I mean, I'm not nervous about it at all. Sued for, when we went through our bankruptcy, we got sued a couple times, and back then it was really, really scarring, and I didn't enjoy that experience. But nowadays it's just like, man, I know I haven't done anything wrong, so I'm not worried about it. I guess if I thought I had done something wrong, I would probably be a little bit terrified. Oh, sorry. Are we talking about electric operators for cantilever or swing gates? Yeah, we were talking about swing gates primarily. So my go-to, okay, this is if I was going to give you a slide gate, cantilever gate, or slide gate, my favorite operator in Wyoming has to be LiftMaster, and I'll tell you why. Some people, I know that they've got known board issues. We've bought some boards. I don't like their eyes at all. I hate their eyes, and in fact, we don't use their eyes. We just throw them away. I got a whole stack of them. If anybody needs LiftMaster eyes, call me. I'll make you a good deal on a stack of them, because we like, number one, we like through beam, and number two, their eyes are so narrow. Like, I don't like eyes where I have to really fine tune the pointing. Most of the eyes, if they're really good eyes, like you just put them in and they already found the other eye. It's easy, and that's what I like. I don't like eyes that are tough to point. So my favorite is LiftMaster in Wyoming, and that's solely because the operators have a heater. Like, LiftMaster is one of the only people out there that makes a heater for theirs. And Automatic makes a really good operator, and Automatic is an operator I would use in Florida, but I can't say I'd use it in Wyoming because we have had problems with them getting super cold and then not working right. And so we've got a couple operators that we switched out in Wyoming to Automatic, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some heat pads on them, I believe, and try and get them warmed up so that when we get those super cold days in Wyoming, they work better. And it's only a handful of days, but the problem is these people pay for reliability. Like I say, did I ever get to I don't know if I ever got to my 2 points. The first point is it has to be safe for vehicles and people. The second point, and what I tell everybody is it has to work. I want an operator that works. So those are the two things that we're going to do, and we're going to tell every customer that's what you're going to get. You're going to get an operator that's safe, and you're going to get an operator that's reliable. 2 criteria. Price is like way down here. I don't care about price. My job is to put it in for you, not figure out how you're going to pay for it. So yeah, I like Automatic in a warm climate. I would probably say Automatic's good. Maximum Controls is pretty good. We've done some of those. And then I'm trying to think, is there another one? Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to use. I'm going to use LiftMaster or Automatic probably. And we're just going to have to take the board issues. We did have a run there for a while where boards were a problem, but we haven't had any in a while. And it's nice for the guys if they install one thing, if you have 1 or 2 things that you routinely use, because they just know them better and they can install them faster because they're not having to go out there and reference measurements and figure out how, how big the pad has to be and where it needs to be in relationship to the fence. So they just start memorizing this stuff, which makes it even faster. So, let's see. Canon, we just talked about 1099 changes a little bit. This is a Department of Labor proposed rule change that came up on the National Association of Home Builders. I can send you a link to that if you want to see. But I hope to hell they crack down on these people. They just drive me nuts. I cannot tell you how much disdain I have for people that do this stuff. So my advice to you guys is if you know somebody in your area that's doing it, just turn them in. Turn them in. Let the Department of Labor sort it out and fine them, and they can pay the price for their actions. Let's see. Steve Garcia from Pencove Gate and Fence in Houston. They need advice on customers being very picky on wood pickets and posts, even after the job is complete, wanting more pickets replaced or posts under warranty. Okay. So what we did is several years ago, we kind of had some problems because we'd put up a fence and then we'd use the treated posts and then they'd curve like a banana, and everybody, some of them would curve this way and some would curve this way and some of them curve this way, or at least try, twist, warp. And we just said, you know what, we're done with it. So it's one of the biggest reasons right there that I don't install the posts. I can replace pickets pretty easily and pretty cost effectively, but replacing posts gets expensive. We don't do wood posts. I don't want to do wood posts. I'm just not going to. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. It's what sets us apart. It's what we offer as our value proposition to our customers, and they know it. And so if you want a wood fence or wood post fence, probably go somewhere else. I don't like digging holes. So that all plays into that too. So it gets tough because how much it's a natural product, and that's one of the things I hate about wood is that it's a natural product. It is going to warp, split, crack, rot, and otherwise deteriorate. How can you guarantee somebody it's not going to? The best thing I can tell you is to provide that to them up front so that they know. And here's if you're having a lot of problems with that, I would provide them with a warranty that says this is a warranty, guaranteed. Here's your guarantee, not a warranty. Here's your guarantee. It's guaranteed to warp, split, crack, rot, and otherwise fail over years. It has a useful lifespan, and that useful lifespan starts decreasing on day one. So as the sun hits it, it's going to dry out and it's going to crack and it's going to warp and it's going to split and the knot holes are going to come up, and have them sign that. Now, does that mean that you aren't going to go out and take care of them if there's a problem? No, it doesn't mean that at all. What it does is it makes them aware that they've signed something that says, I know about all this stuff well in advance of me ever having you step foot on my property. I know that these are the risks that I have. I know that this can happen. And you're setting that expectation. So I think when you set that expectation and then you guys are both very familiar with what you've signed, what you've agreed upon, it just reduces that chance of Karen coming after you later on saying, hey, I've had 10 pickets split. So just try and be upfront with them and then come up with a plan to deal with it if it does become an issue. It's not that, you need to go fighting over 10 pickets. It's probably easier just to replace them than get the bad review. Yes, somebody else says that's how they run, full send on the ragged edge. Figure it out as you go. That's my whole plan. The first go around it didn't work too well, but this time it's been pretty good so far. So Joseph Rivers says that's a big thing here in Florida. I suppose he's referring to what I'm talking about, and that's the subcontractor thing. That's a huge thing in Florida, and that's why Florida's market is so terrible. We can't talk specific pricing, but I will tell you that the pricing we could get in Wyoming is every bit of 2 times as much as we can get in Florida. But it doesn't snow here, so there's that. Divine Fence says, hey, Mark, wish you and the guys further success and always enjoy your content. So, hey, thanks for watching. Divine's, I would say he's a power supporter of the channel, so we love that. Joseph elaborated a little bit more. Says several companies I subbed for when I began are dead set on making it look like you're an employee. Yeah, and if they're trying to make it look like you're an employee, you're probably supposed to be an employee. A lot of these people don't want their customer to know that they're sending somebody completely unrelated to that company out. If they, if the customer found out that it wasn't ABC Fence Company, but it was, Billy Bob and his cousin that were coming out there, that were going to do their fence, they wouldn't hire them. They hired ABC Fence Company for their reviews and stuff like that and their reputation. And it's easy for them to say, it's just not a good situation. I just I don't like it. I don't like it. And this Joseph is telling me exactly what I know, and that is they're trying to make you look like an employee, which means you're probably an employee. And if you're in a situation like this, if you work for a fence company, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. You want to know how to make a whole bunch of money? If you're working for a company that's doing this type of stuff and you're 1099 and you're like, man, they just don't pay me good enough, get with your Department of Labor. Your Department of Labor will fight for you to get you a whole bunch of money, because chances are you're going to be owed a lot of money. A lot of money. So you might want to go get with your Department of Labor and tell them your story and see if you are owed some back wages, maybe some overtime. It can get very expensive, and you could have a JG Wentworth, and you can have a large settlement coming your way. I should get my lawyer hat. Hang on 1 second. I got the hat for this. Wait, this is going to be good. Okay, I'm back. You can probably hear me. Here we go. I got the hat for this situation. There we go. Got my new hat. This is PJ Wentworth. This is Mark Olson. I'm with PJ Wentworth, attorneys at law. I'm not really a lawyer, and you're not going to really get an attorney's advice, but I'm going to give you some really crappy advice that you can choose to take or not take. Got a special hat just for this situation. PJ Wentworth. Let's see. Man, lots of good questions. I only have 13 more minutes. Jeez, I don't want to make these things run long, because I want you guys to know what you can count on, and I don't want you getting sucked in for 5 hours of live stream. But I want to try and make these things more of a weekly deal on Tuesdays. So my interest is in ag-related fencing construction, but my area is actively getting developed and moving away from agriculture. I've been looking at relocating, so enjoy watching our relocation. Hey, Jess, you know what? If you want to relocate and still stay in fencing, look me up, because this is a great place to live. I think we have a great company, and we're looking for awesome people. So if you're a great high quality person and you don't want to be a subcontractor and you want to, work for somebody legitimate, then we'll take care of you. Michael Lambert. It's truly amazing how crazy people will do anything to sidetrack the way a business works to get the advantage, and that's what it is. They're trying to get the upper hand the wrong way. If you're truly the best, if you are really the best at what you do, you should be able to do it legally and legitimately and still kill everybody else. If you're cutting corners to be the best in what you think is the best, guess what? You're not really the best. You're second best at best, and probably not even that good. Oh yeah, Cannon. Don't get Cannon started on Buc-ee's. Now Cannon and his wife, they're big Buc-ee's fans too, and they have to travel ways. Now I only have to go up 20 miles that way, and then I can go about 40 miles south of me, and there's another Buc-ee's. So I've got Buc-ee's just right here. It's good stuff. Cannon says, good stuff. We've been searching the web for a good drink mixer. Ironically, we found a video of you advertising what looked like a good one. Are you able to share the name of that drink mixer? So that drink mixer, there was a video, actually a TikTok circulating. What happened is, there's a story behind it. We received a box that was supposed to contain like old packages that they couldn't deliver from China or whatever. So we open up this. This is going to get a little bit risque for people that are not up to that. So if you're squeamish or you're prude, probably tune out for just a second. This is going to take me a couple minutes. So anyhow, we opened up this package and just got a whole bunch of wrapped up packages, and we're passing them out. And they did say, hey, you could get some things in here that may not be child friendly. Luckily, all of our kids are pretty well scarred from all the things that we've pretty much scarred them already as bad as you can. So my son, he opens up this package, and this package is one of those things that goes, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you probably should have left this live stream. So opens it up, and I was like, boy, I got an idea for that. And so I decided to make a TikTok out of it. It's going to be funny. And so I took it, and I have the video. I have passed this video around a few times. And if you talk to the right people, you can get a copy of this video because TikTok removed it. But what I did was I took this drink mixer, and stuck it in my glass and used it as a drink mixer, and it's vibrating, it's doing all its fun stuff, and really, really stirring up my drink very well. And talked about it for a little bit and all its fine qualities, and it's made of silicone, so it cleans up easy. And then I think where I lost TikTok, here's what I think happened. I think I lost TikTok when I took this drink mixer and I stuck it in my mouth and cleaned it off like I would a mixing paddle with cake batter on it. I think that may have been where TikTok kind of drew the line and said, Mr. Olson, we don't think you're funny anymore, and they took the video down. It was catching fire. So you really have to, you really got to try and get to the right people if you want to copy that video. It's out there, and it's good. I don't mind it being out there. I mean, I've put it out for public consumption. But hey, I parked a trailer in a ditch, or had one of the guys park a trailer in the ditch unintentionally and put that out there rather than hiding from the embarrassment too. So, okay, now we'll go back to upgrading our Google business page. Often has been huge for whatever reason. We haven't advertised off of Google, but get plenty of leads from our Google page and a website, and that is important. So the more photos and stuff that you put on your website, or on your Google My Business page, if you keep those photos updated, kind of like you do a Facebook page, it really does help you. So, man, you guys are rapid fire in these things. It's hard for me to stay up today. Wine and dine and 1099 them. Yeah, because somebody's getting effed. That's right. I just said that. I don't have any sponsors on this channel yet, so we're good. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop there, and we got 8 minutes to go over the financials. So if that's what you guys wanted to see, we'll see what we can do in 8 minutes. So we better do another screen share. Pull that up there. Present. Okay. How many people noticed that I totally screwed up this thing and had to cancel one event and start another one because I forgot to upload the thumbnail photo, and Facebook was being a pain in the butt? Share the screen. Okay, there you go. Oh, coming at you. Hang on. Let's go. Share. Here we go. That's it. That's where we're at. So January now. Now this is the nitty gritty. And trust me, stay to the end because there's going to be a surprise. Nope, this isn't it. Wrong company. Dang it. What did I do? I thought, yeah, that was one company. We're not going to get into that one. You don't get to see that one. I have one extra page in there. That's what I got. Dang it. Give me just a second. I had the P&L from, how did I do that? Crap. Had it all ready and forgot to proofread. It'll only take me a second though. If you just bear with me, we'll get this thing up. So that's the one. We're just going to take this, organize pages. Yeah, then we'll just delete that page. There we go. That's better. How come that's still there? What's going on? Okay, stop. We're gonna have to probably start this again. Present, share screen. Okay, there we go. That looks much better. So this is where we're at, fencing income. And so don't believe the access control income. Access control incomes, I don't think that's coming through from Job Nimbus, right? So just look at the total picture. That's really lucky, $777,000. This is through the end of September. So we're moving. We're on the right track. I think we'd have to triple up next year to make our goal. We'd have to triple up, and then we got a lot of other work to do too. But cost of goods sold. So this is one of those places when you start looking down your P&L and you're looking, well, we made $658,000 in gross profit. Well, there's probably a problem, and we're going to get to that at the end. So if you start seeing this, anywhere between 40 and 50% gross profit down here is probably good. So this is a first clue that something may be off. I want you to know. We can get down here. We can see payroll expenses. Some other stuff, advertising. We spent a little bit of money on advertising this year, post and delivery overhead, rent, vehicle. So then we come down here, and it says that after all these expenses and everything, we made $94,000. So you're thinking to yourself, hey, you know what? That's really good. That's amazing. Good job, Mark. Okay, wait just a second, because there's more. Just wait. You remember we've been talking about inventory. So when we get to this sheet here, you're going to start to see why it's so important that you track all this stuff and you do a good job of your inventory and you know what your inventory is, because that all plays a role. Remember how our cost of goods sold was so high? Well, the other thing that's kind of high right down here is our inventory. If you'll look at our inventory right here, $357,000. Right here, this is no, I didn't. This right here, we don't have $357,000 worth of inventory. So what's happened is these things have been coded to inventory because we bought a truckload of something. We brought it all the way in there, but we didn't ever expense it out to jobs. So it makes jobs look way more profitable than they were because we didn't actually have those materials pulled out of inventory and allocated to that project. So this is why inventory is so important when you start getting to a place where you're not ordering a job lot. If you're ordering a job lot and you just bring in enough to do that one project, then you can just write that all to that one job. But we don't. We bring it in truckloads, and then we have to allocate it a little bit at a time to each project as it goes on. And so we have a huge write down coming on our inventory, where our cost of goods sold is going to go through the roof. It's going to go way up, and then our inventory value is going to go way down through a journal entry. And all of a sudden that profit that's there is going to, instead of having a, $90,000 profit, we're probably going to swing by $300,000. So this is why numbers are important. This is why you need to know what your numbers are saying. And you need to look this stuff over and look for all the errors and try and figure out why that would be. Because if it's out of whack, if it seems out of whack, it probably is. And so that's why I've been working really hard to get our inventory done so that we can do an actual physical inventory, figure out how much money we have on inventory on hand, how much vinyl, how much chain link. And then once we have that number, we can correct our inventory asset on here and put that to cost of goods sold, and it'll give us a much better look at where we are for the end of the year. So that's the big surprise. Big surprise is it looks like we're profitable, but guess what? It's all a lie. So I know it's a lie. I'm not going to tell you that we're profitable because I could say, hey, we're profitable, but that's not how we operate. We want you to know everything that's going on here. So total current liabilities, balance sheet, total equity, it's probably a little higher than that. We've got, and so our asset, just so anybody that's watching this is looking over this, our asset list, the whole asset sheet is off. So anytime you have this kind of a loss, you have to inject capital, and that capital had to come from somewhere. So that capital came from me, and we just haven't recorded all that. So you're going to get a really good picture sometime after the first of the year when we start making sure all this stuff's jived up. We've got some assets to move from one company to another company and liabilities and stuff like that. So it's not this stuff. Don't take this with a grain of salt, because it's not at all where we're going to end up for the year. But know that, as far as revenue wise, we're doing pretty good. I think that we could have a really good shot at, by the end of the year, hitting $1 million, but it's not going to be profitably. We've put a ton of money into all our advertising. That's one of the things we may end up doing. We may end up capitalizing our wraps. We've spent probably about $15,000 on vehicle wraps, maybe more, and we may capitalize those and appreciate those out over a few years, to kind of tie back to another question that was asked earlier. But that's it. That's all I have quite time for. I didn't get to show all these comments. You guys did a great job of participating, and really appreciate you guys being here. I'll try and do this again next Tuesday. Maybe we'll just make this a regular thing. Dan and Canada have got their show. They do a great show. And each one of us has something to offer. So I think there's value in watching what everybody's doing, whether it be Joe or Dan and Cannon or Sean or me. We've all got something, and make what you can, and there's no obligation to be here, but we're sure happy that you are here, and hope that until next time, you guys will have a good dang day.